All right. We are here for our weekly Marion County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's Wednesday, March 15, 2023, 9 a.m. in the Senator Hearing Room. As always, please join us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have public comment. Mark is here. Mark Wigg, if you want to come up to the side over here, Mark.
This side?
Yes, yep, sir. Right there. Make sure you pull that microphone up close enough that we can hear your voice. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Mark Wigg. I live in Marion County. And a couple of things I wanted to comment on. One was that was an excellent State of the County meeting. Thank you very much. It was very positive. A lot of good people there. The second thing I wanted to comment on was number 7, your expansion of the mental health counseling in the county. I wanted to thank you for pursuing that and pushing that forward. Because most of you have probably heard of Melissa Blake, a 34-year-old woman who died on the streets of Salem. And mental health counseling may have helped that person. Senator Patterson right now has a bill that she's pushing through that says we need better coordinations before we release somebody from hospitals. We need better coordination. And it's SB 1076. And what I would like to see from you folks is that you ask her to expand that to include the state hospital and the prisons, that you don't just release people out onto the street. And so just a heads up on that one. And then the one other thing I wanted to ask is Melissa died, but since October, these other people have died that were unsheltered in Marion County. Larry, Styx, Cynthia, Janet, Scotty, Brittany, James, Judith, Christine, Eric, Mike, Scott, and Lou. That's since October. Last year, 40 people died that were unsheltered, and most of them need help. And so thank you, but could you please have your medical officer publish the names of the people that are unsheltered that have died? Because right now we just have a number. You don't get names. I don't get last names. You can't find last names. You can't find names, ages of the people that are dying on our streets. You need a medical officer to get that information. And I think it would help push our programs forward to know who is dying. Anyway, thank you very much.
Mark, thank you.
Do you mind, Commissioner, if I just address a couple?
Absolutely.
Mark, I really appreciate you being here and bringing forward the attention of Senator Patterson's bill. You're not wrong, but I just want to be very transparent on the record that this board does everything in its power to convince the Oregon legislative body of the needs in our community, and it's actually going to take citizens like yourself to be as persistent, if not more than us, to be heard. So
I'm working with her.
Perfect. Well, I really appreciate that you are working with her, because she needs to hear from the people who elected her to do this job. And I don't know much about how things are reported in the medical system, but that's run through the district attorney's office, and I'll follow up with Paige to see what that looks like. It may be out of our control, but I'm happy to explore it further. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to pass the gavel back to the chair. Welcome. I would like to make, Mark, I appreciate your testimony, and I appreciate that you're going to follow up with the district attorney what we can and can't expose. And in regards to Senator Patterson, I was just in the building testifying on a wildfire bill and happened to run into the senator, and we had a very good heated discussion about Senate Bill 488. And then I asked her why she filed Senate Bill 1081 without even talking to us. And we just agreed to disagree. And she said she heard that I made some comments about her at our State of the County, and I will stand by those comments that I made at the State of the County when I said, you know, when you said that 30 out of 100 people died of cancer when you're introducing a bill about a waste-to-energy facility, you impugned motives that these people are dying because of our environmental services policies in Marion County, and that was wrong. And I will not apologize for what I said. And I said, we'll just agree to disagree. And I went on and testified for a very important bill for our wildfire victims in the next room. I'm glad I got to make that public comment this morning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for what you're doing.
There you go. And
Oh, well,
and you were chairing this meeting. That's pretty good.
Superman. See you, Mark.
Okay.
We only have one member sign up for public comment.
Okay, so next up on the agenda is our Health and Human Services proclamation. All right?
Yep.
Carissa, come on up. We're going to consider approval of a proclamation designating the month of March as Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in Marion County. This is always one of my favorite proclamations every year.
Good morning. Let me just get my PowerPoint up here. My tech skills are on track today.
It feels like a Monday to me, but it's Wednesday.
Thank goodness.
It does. Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Carissa Neufeld. I'm the Human Services Division Director for Marion County Health and Human Services, and I have the great pleasure of supporting our County Intellectual and Developmental Disability Program. This morning, I come before you to share with you about intellectual and developmental disabilities and to request that you adopt a proclamation proclaiming March to be Intellectual and Developmental Disability Month. With me today, I have brought 3 guests who will speak during our presentation, but I would just like to introduce them first. We have Elizabeth Vasquez from the Elsinore Theater. We have Ashley Erb from Shangri-La. And we have Kevin Zwart from the Kroc Center with us today. So, as you know from past years, March is Intellectual and Developmental Disability Month. It was first proclaimed or declared by President Ronald Reagan in 1987. He declared March as Developmental Disability Awareness Month. And really, this month is an opportunity for us to educate our community, to broaden awareness about intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Random technology. Over here.
And to help our community understand how each and every one of us can help support the citizens in our community who experience an intellectual or developmental disability thrive. So a little information about Oregon and specific to Marion County. So Oregon was the first state in our country to close its institutions for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, which was Fairview here in our backyard. And we now have, Fairview is no longer there. There's a nice housing development that's been popping up around there, around the property. But Oregon is very proud of the fact that it led the way in closing institutions, and many states, not all, but most states have followed in our leadership there. Here in Marion County, we have over 3,200 children and adults who identify as having an intellectual or developmental disability, and they're served by 3 case management entities. So Marion County, Integrated Services Network, and Resource Connections of Oregon here in Marion County. We also have a number of providers here that support individuals who don't want to necessarily live at home or can't live at home or can't live independently. And so we have 350 residential licensed providers, 24-hour residential providers. We have, and that includes 24-hour residential providers, adult foster homes, and children foster homes. We also have approximately 1,600 personal support workers who support individuals living at home with their families or living independently in the community. So this year's theme is putting the unity in community. And that theme really comes from the fact that we've lived through the last 3 years of COVID, and many people have experienced a sense of isolation. But really, it is our community who helps us thrive. And we really want to be coming back together and having more coordinated efforts to be able to support individuals and those who experience intellectual and developmental disabilities. And as I said at the beginning, we are hoping that everyone understands that they can do something to support. So a call to action as we think about putting the unity in community is taking actions to provide accessible and affordable housing. Our individuals who experience intellectual and developmental disabilities frequently have a challenging time, extra barriers to finding housing. Hiring individuals who experience intellectual and developmental disabilities. Unemployment amongst people with disabilities is the highest among all classes of individuals. Promoting and developing inclusive and social recreational activities. Taking steps to ensure your business or organization provides inclusive and accessible services. Volunteering or working for an organization who supports people with intellectual or developmental disabilities, and extending a supportive hand to a neighbor. Just having conversations can go a long ways in supporting someone or their family who experiences an intellectual or developmental disability. So this morning, as I said, I've brought 3 guests with me, and these guests are invited because their businesses are doing things that are helping to put unity in community, and wanted to be able to acknowledge them and to allow them to share a little bit about what they're doing. So first up is Elizabeth from the Elsinore Theater.
Hello, hello. My name is Elizabeth Vasquez-Villa. I am the operations manager at the Elsinore Theater. I'm here to tell you a little about our project, Monthly Movie Fun, at the Elsinore. This event series was created by our development director, Sally Litchfield. Our Monthly Movie Fun series is a series of 12 free movies for adults experiencing disabilities. They are sensory-friendly with reduced volume and open captioning. This project was made possible by 2 grants we received. The first was a $7,500 grant by the City of Salem Cultural and Tourism Promotion and Advisory Board, and a $5,000 grant from the Gibney Family Foundation. Thanks to these grants, we are able to offer these movies free of charge to clients of Marion County DD Service, Polk County DD Service, Resource Connections of Oregon, and the Integrated Services Network, as well as free admission for a companion and a free popcorn and a beverage as well, so soda or juice. And any friends and family that would like to join can do so for $5. Our movies are every 3rd Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. Our why behind this project is to remove financial barriers to entertainment, to provide opportunity for fun and social engagement in the community, and to share the castle-like interior of the 96-year-old theater. And we've been able to do just that. We are able to offer a space of social gathering for adults experiencing disabilities, many of whom have come to all the movies, and they really enjoy seeing one another, getting to just have a space where they can just say hello to one another and not have to pay so much or have it just be set up for free. We try and show movies that they want to see. In July, we sent out a survey asking for recommendations. In December, we offered a chance to visit with Santa and do a photo opportunity. We began our movie series with Pirates of the Caribbean, where we had an attendance of 84 people, 44 adults, and 33 companions. Our numbers have since steadily increased. Our two biggest attendants so far have been Hocus Pocus in October, with 72 adults and 54 companions, and then Home Alone in December, we had 83 adults and 61 companions. At the Elsinore, we offer a variety of shows, and all which are very important, but we believe this to be one of the most important series that we do. Because of this, our development director has been working hard to secure funding to continue this project. So far, we have received a $4,500 grant from the Marion Cultural Development Operation. As we continue our efforts towards our second year, we hope to expand our outreach and awareness, and we hope to have more adults join us, as well as friends and family. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And now I'd like to have Ashley Erb speak about what Shangri-La is doing.
Great. Excuse me. Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Ashley Urban. I'm the Director of Community Engagement for Shangri-La. I'll just give some quick background while I think Carissa's going to hand something out to you. So Shangri-La is one of the many nonprofit organizations working here in Salem. We are celebrating 60 years of service this year in helping individuals with disabilities and families with disadvantages recognize and achieve their potential. We employ about 350 people, the majority of which are direct support professionals, and we serve about 1,000 people annually throughout the footprint of Marion, Polk, Yamhill, Lynn, Benton, and Lane counties, the majority of our footprint, though, being here in Marion County. So I just want to start and say thank you so much for making some room today for a conversation about disability. In fact, conversation is exactly what the Yellow Napkin Project aims to do. Provide opportunities to our community to learn about and discuss disability while enjoying a glass of wine, an ice cream cone, or a burger at their favorite food establishment. Of course, we also hope that the messages on these napkins will help challenge assumptions, and we also know that actions speak louder than words, and so we hope that people will take the information from the napkins and turn them into actions that help make our community a more inclusive place for people with disabilities. Shangri-La started the Yellow Napkin Project last year as a small pilot project. We had just 2,500 napkins, and we engaged 7 businesses in getting those napkins out to the community. We're very grateful this year to work with Columbia Bank and Marion County to distribute 12,000 napkins through 30 businesses and organizations who are distributing those napkins for us. The napkins feature 5 different messages, and those messages were selected by individuals in our services and our direct support professionals that support those individuals in their daily lives. Some of the messages also echo content from the book called Demystifying Disability, written by Emily Ladau, who is a disabled person and disability rights activist. It's a phenomenal read for anyone who is wanting to increase their sort of disability allyship, and I really encourage all of you to read that book. It's called Demystifying Disability. So for example, one of the messages this year reads, "No matter how significant a disability is, a person with disabilities can still learn, think, and feel. With the right support, people with disabilities can express themselves, participate in their community, and make their own decisions." Another napkin, which was really important for us as we continue to look at how disability exists in our community, is not all disabilities are visible. In fact, the majority of disabilities are invisible. As such, it is best that we skip assumptions about what we think disability looks like and focus on prioritizing disability etiquette and accessibility in all of our interactions with everyone, everywhere. The yellow napkins are being distributed by businesses throughout the month of March while their allotted supply lasts. Some businesses have already reported that they're out of their napkins, which is okay. Last year, we focused primarily on Salem proper, but this year, napkins can also be found in Marion County, throughout Marion County, in Staten, Silverton, Kaiser, Woodburn, Mill City, Mount Angel, and Brooks. And so we're very excited to reach some more rural communities this year. And also thanks to support from Marion County, this year's napkins feature a bilingual English-Spanish messages. We're about midway through March, and already we have heard stories of how the napkins are sparking conversations in our community. We look forward to continuing this project in the future, hopefully with more napkins, more businesses, and more input from the disability community on what messages those napkins should carry. So I just want to say thank you again for making room for conversations about disability.
Thank you. And last, I would like to have Kevin.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Kevin Zwart, and I am the Marketing Assistant and Graphic Designer at the Salem Croc Center, who is on the autism spectrum. So quick about myself, I started working at the Salem Croc Center as a lifeguard back in 2010, and I moved into marketing in 2021. I graduated from Western Oregon in 2019 with Bachelor's of Science in Visual Communication Design while I was working at the Croc Center. And today, I'm going to talk about the programs that we offer at the Croc Center specifically for people with special needs. To start off, we have a daily pool session called Limited Swim, which is an activity in a pool where people with special needs that come in and swim for therapy. And it runs from Monday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also do offer swim lessons for people with special needs in all ages if they don't know how to swim. For accessibility, we have a chairlift for some people with special needs who have a hard time getting in and out of the pool. So there are some people with special needs that comes with a caretaker, and the good news for caretakers, they get in, they have 3 admissions for the Croc Center. We do also have people with special needs who are enrolled with the community transition programs, and they are able to get free admissions as well, so they can have access to the gym, fitness area, and the pool. We do have some people with special needs who are memberships at the Croc Center. We do offer scholarships for if they need any financial assistance. We have collaborated with Garden Services and Shangri-La to help hire adults with special needs if they want to work at the Croc Center. So we do offer certification classes before applying for a job here, such as a lifeguard or other fields that we offer here. We do have plans on continuing to add more programs for people with special needs in the future. We would like to encourage you to check out our website for updates and further details about our programs that we offer here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And finally, I would just like to close out with sharing, as you all know, that we have a conference happening starting tomorrow at the Salem Convention Center. So just are hoping that people will show up, and this is a conference, again, as an acknowledgement that it's really important for our community to come together, to network, and to support one another. And so this is for people who live and work here in Marion County, who are part of our intellectual and developmental disability community, whether you're a business partner or a support worker or an individual who experiences intellectual or developmental disabilities or family member. So all are welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carissa. And thank you all for the services you provide to folks in our community. It's really important. Are there any questions for our panel today?
Yeah, I do, Mr. Chair, thank you. How many napkins did you produce?
12,000.
12,500 to be specific, but yeah, so
12,500.
significant growth over last year.
I just, as a former restaurateur, I just think this is a great idea to get this into restaurants. And by the way, this is a really nice napkin.
Oh,
you know,
thank you.
Compared to some napkins you get in restaurants, you know, where you have to take 3 or 4
Yeah.
because they're so thin. This is a great idea to share the word and to bring awareness. Yeah, so thank you. And I see that that you're a sponsor and the health department's a sponsor and that Columbia Bank is a sponsor. So I want to thank those that have made that happen. And I'm sure those napkins went really fast. 12,500 napkins.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, a couple of the businesses that we partner with could have gone through that in a weekend, you know?
Exactly. That's
So-
what I was thinking.
Yeah,
right?
so they just pick a day, a night, or a weekend and go through the napkins, and, you know, and we would love to be able to provide more of them in the future as we grow our partnerships and include more businesses as well. So, but I think some of the best conversations, the most memorable conversations I have had about things in life have come around the table with food. And so that's why we wanted to take this education and bring it to a space where people were comfortable and joyful and see what could come from that. And that was really the sort of the idea behind the napkins.
You may want to reach out. I can help you reach out to the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association next year. Maybe they would participate here in the local area to help too.
That would be really wonderful.
Yeah.
We'd appreciate that.
Or maybe they can just, Marion County, the state of Oregon, and expand it.
That's right.
They are statewide.
We do have an organization in California that is doing the same project this year after learning about our project next year. So it could be really something that goes, nationwide, statewide at least. So, yeah.
It looks like, and although I can't see that far officially, you have a list of businesses on your piece of paper. Would you just list them off really quick so that way we can acknowledge them and appreciate their effort?
Sure, I'd be happy to. It's kind of a long list, so.
Your mic?
Oh, my mic is off.
Oh.
Thank you. I can't actually see her.
TV in the way. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so the businesses that we have distributing napkins this year are Ankeny Vineyard, 3rd Avenue Eatery and Naked Cat Coffee in Stayton, the Beehive Tap House at the Beehive Station, Cafe Capri in the Reed Opera House, Chicscape in Mount Angel, Columbia Bank, Cozy's New York Deli, Denny's in Woodburn, Heroes Tap House in South Salem, the Kaiser Sub Shop, Lively Station. The napkins will be distributed at the Marion County IDD Conference the next couple of days. On any Sunday, Rosie's Mountain Coffee House in Mill City, Route 99 in Brooks, Sweetly Baked and Sewell Sweets here in Salem, T-Mobile in Stayton, the Doghouse Food Truck in Salem, the Hub in Stayton, the Safe Haven at Chemeketa Community College, Shades of Brew, the Easy Otter, Urban Grange in West Salem, Waldo Middle School, Western Oregon University Disability Services, and 2 businesses in Silverton. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go State. Like saturated up there.
It's a great place.
Oh, yeah. I
It's a
do.
great place,
I mean, as soon as I said it, I thought, oh, shoot, I just set you up for something.
It's a great suburb of Salemity.
Okay, easy.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, well then, I'll take a motion and we'll read this proclamation.
I'll do it. All right. I move, let's see, I gotta find it on my agenda. I move to approve a proclamation designating the month of March as Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in Marion County.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, the motion passes. All right, who's gonna kick us off? Are you, Commissioner Bethel?
You want me to kick it off? Sure.
Kick off reading the,
Absolutely. Before the Board of Commissioners for Marion County, Oregon, in the matter of proclaiming the month of March 2023 as Intellectual and Developmental Disability Awareness Month in Marion County, a proclamation. This matter came before the Marion County Board of Commissioners at its regularly scheduled public meeting on March 15th, 2023. Whereas no fewer than 3,200 residents of Marion County live with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And whereas historically, individuals who experience intellectual and developmental disabilities have been marginalized, suffered discrimination, and lack of access to their community and basic services, including employment, affordable housing, recreation, health and human services, and disaster response. And
whereas Marion County acknowledges the role of the community to engage and support the health, safety, prosperity, and success of every citizen, including individuals who experience intellectual and development disabilities. And whereas Marion County further acknowledges individuals who experience intellectual and developmental disabilities are active and valued members of its community. And whereas Marion County strives to support inclusive, safe, and healthy opportunities for individuals who experience intellectual and development disabilities to engage with their communities. And
Whereas Marion County appreciates the numerous community partners, businesses, paid and unpaid providers, faith entities, schools, and neighbors who frequently work together to put unity into community, to support an inclusive and enriching experience, so those who live with intellectual and developmental disabilities may thrive. And whereas Marion County invites and challenges all members of its community to develop and promote unity in community by taking actions to provide accessible and affordable housing, equitable opportunities for employment and community engagement, inclusive and accessible recreational activities, and promote health equity for people who experience intellectual and developmental disabilities. Now therefore is hereby proclaimed that the month of March 2023 is Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month in Marion County. All right, and we have a signed proclamation here, so.
Would you mind joining us all up here for a photo?
Are we keeping one of these, Brenda? Yes.
3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving right along into our consent agenda. Commissioner Cameron, I believe it's your turn.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll move the consent agenda this morning. On the Board of Commissioners, Marion Water Quality Advisory Committee approve an order appointing Jeff Crowther as an at-large member to the Marion Water Quality Advisory Committee with a term ending June 30th, 2017. OLCC application, recommended approval, Awesome Indoor Playground, Salem, Oregon. That'd be interesting. Indoor playground with alcohol. All
That
right.
already exists, but, okay.
And then under Human Resources, approve the recommendation to adopt and establish the classification and pay range for Justice Court Clerk 1 under Class Code number 193 and Justice Court Clerk 2 under Class Code number 194.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Okay, Clerk Burgess, looks like you're up. We're going to consider approval of the contract for procurement, licensing, and maintenance of the LRMS system with Helion Software Incorporated.
I always did wonder, why do we always punt to that table instead of the middle one?
Do you know the answer?
No,
Oh.
that's why I said I always
Oh,
wonder.
there you go.
I'll have to figure that out. I think it's better if they're in the middle. I can look at them this way.
Well, thank you, Commissioners. This is a long time coming. Our efforts to update our land records management system precede any of you being here on the board.
But not you, right?
No. I think, well, we actually started this in about 2010.
Okay.
And we went forward and selected an applicant, and then the county didn't have the funds to make it happen. And then about 2017, we got a new serious offer that we worked on that we were about to implement, and then things went a little sideways, and now we're here today. Before you is a contract for $714,900 for a 5-year contract to update the clerk's office record management system to Helion Software's proposed solution. This is the result of an RFP awarded last year. There were 11 applicants. Helion Software Incorporated was selected. This system is used for recording land records such as deeds, mortgages, liens, satisfactions, conveyances, plats, powers of attorney, and death certificates affecting land title. We generally record 50 to 80,000 documents per year. Each of these records need to be accurately indexed to be retrieved by researchers. This service is foundational to the financial community, including banks, title companies, developers, attorneys, escrow agents, insurance companies, and others wishing to collateralize property or for borrowing money and for publicly declaring ownership and obligations. This system is also used for issuing and processing marriage licenses at about 2,400 a year here in Marion County. This system is used for receipting, including liquor licenses, passports, candidate filings, various other election administration charges, and copies of documents. Two significant advantages of updating to this Helion software system are an increased capacity to electronically record land records both locally and nationally. I should say that about 60% of our records now are recorded electronically rather than people coming in with paper, and about 85% of our income comes through the electronic recordings. And this system also will be more efficient in processing marriage license due to Helion's online, what we call a kiosk application, where people can start their application process at home or on their phone or on their computer or a computer in our office. Another advantage is that Helion is a local company, a homegrown company. The owners live here. Service time should be quick. And Helion has a stellar record of service to Oregon clerks and to assessors' offices throughout Oregon. So, thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Bill. So if we approve this contract today, when does the records management system go live for people? When can people start using it?
Well, we are hoping to get this done by the end of this fiscal year. Because of the elections and all, we're not sure that we can really do that, but that is what our desire is. We've been talking quite a bit with Helion and with the present company. And we've been meeting at least weekly, setting the groundwork to make all this happen. And so I don't see, our goal again is June 30th. Now, officially, we're saying by August 30th, but we think we can pull it off sooner.
Okay, that's great. Any further questions?
No questions, but yeah, I guess, is this a fix to the issue that we've had complaints about over the last couple of years on duplicate? So this was the request for proposal that went out to try to fix that, right?
We are
This is an
hoping,
upgrade to our system.
we are hoping so.
Yeah, okay.
Because we certainly did, this is old technology we've been using since about, 2006 or before I've been here. There have been some upgrades to it, but it was limited to how upgradable it could be. What this new system will do is allow more than one person at a time to work on e-recording without it slowing down. The connections that we had, some of the problems may have been due to the system. They've been due to the way the system interfaces with our own IT system. There are a lot of things involved in making this happen. About once a week, we have to reset something that went down to try to recover as soon as we can. Other counties haven't had as much of a problem. They still can. Sometimes the problem can be from the submitter. Sometimes it could be from the vendor here. Sometimes it can be through our firewalls and all when things get dropped. But we think that this is going to cut that down quite a bit.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Bill.
The only question I have, and I apologize, so far it looks like a really great proposal from Helion that really is detailed on how they're going to work with you and your staff to deploy this. It looks like they're going to be very present in that process, which is super important. And I know that since I've been here historically, the challenges that you face are around kind of the elections, as you stated. It seems like you have 2 a year, or at least one, and that one a year is, they're always really big. Anyway, what does it look like so one of the points in here is that it states that they're gonna work with your staff and they're gonna make notes. They're gonna kind of oversee their work product to make sure that there's no gaps in the data system. I know we've had experience in the past with another records management system that really caused us some financial challenges. Is this contract inclusive of the needs that come about in that observation of Helion when they're on site? Or is there an assumed delivery and model, and then there'll be a cost on top of whatever that assumption is if it's identified? I guess I'm asking, is this all in?
Yeah. We don't think there's going to be a lot of added cost because we've talked so much with Helion. They've been here to see what we need to do.
Okay.
We may have to buy some different hardware, but probably not a lot.
Okay.
The big part of it is that with our former folks, they provided the indexers for 1.5 FTE. So now we're going to have to provide that 1.5 FTE of indexers to get the indexing done.
I don't really know what that means. What does it mean to index?
To index, we bring in about 50,000 to 80,000 documents. Each of those needs to be indexed properly in a more modern way. You're indexing title, you're indexing the different parties that are on the document, indexing the legal descriptions, and in such a way that you can find those documents later on. There's and we are going to, through this system, we are using something called an automatic indexing system, but that's just a very beginning start. That helps us index a little bit faster, but the indexing still has to be done as a two-person operation, one person doing the index, another person verifying the index, and they can take turns back and forth doing that. And so, whereas before that was a contract, part of our contract, now we need to supply that 1.5 FTE to do that.
Okay. I actually like that better because it holds us personally accountable for our work product. So having it in-house makes me more comfortable for what the citizens here in Marion County are purchasing ultimately. I think it's great. Thanks for your work on this. I know it's taken some time and been a little friction-y in certain spaces. So I'm thrilled that it's here today and that we're moving forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Bethel, I'll take a motion, if you would.
Okay. I move to approve the contract for procurement, licensing, and maintenance of an LRMS system with Helion Software Incorporated in the amount of $714,900 to establish the land records management system through December 31st, 2027.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bill.
Commissioners.
Thanks, Bill. Have a great day.
All right, Jeff, you're up next. We're going to consider approval of the purchase order with Robert Half International, the amount of $165,500, to provide temporary staffing services through June 30th, 2023. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning, Chair, Commissioners. Thank you. Jeff White, Chief Financial Officer for Marion County. This probably is not a story you haven't heard many times. In our department, we're vacant some positions, specifically our controller position, and we have a grants positions vacant. We've also had an employee that was out for several months, and we had to have some backup coverage for that employee. Robert Half is one of the companies that is on a cooperative purchase agreement. We use them for temporary staffing. My desire would to not need all of this amount. So far, though, I've had a couple of failed recruitments to fill those positions. So if I need the temporary staffing through June, this is the amount I would need. If we get somebody hired prior to then, we would stop the temporary staffing and reduce this cost.
I appreciate your work trying to fill those positions, and I also appreciate having failed recruitments. I just want to say that to you publicly. Something that I've said to staff, but I don't know if I've said it to the public, is the quality of people we hire here in Marion County is super important. The culture we have, the work that we do, it's really, really important that we hire high-quality people and we hold them to a high standard. And so sometimes we do recruitments and we want to get really good people. And if we don't have the quality of people that we expect, or folks that we think can do the job at the level that the people of Marion County need it to be done at, I'm a big proponent of not hiring just for the sake of hiring, because it's just so important. You know, our citizens unfortunately have experienced it where we haven't always got it right and we've had a bad fit, and we're doing our best to avoid that. So I appreciate your intentionality in hiring and making sure that you're getting the right folks into your shop. And I recognize that there may be a little bit of a cost to that, but frankly, the cost of hiring wrong is much higher than having to pay a little bit of temporary staffing to make sure we get the right people here in Marion County. So I appreciate your work on that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, we have to, he is gonna do the budget. We have to have people in his office in order to be able to write checks later. So I'm thrilled that we're here doing this and that you're being so proactive about it. I do think it's important.
Yeah.
So-
Mr. Chair, before I make the motion, I just want to say, Jeff, thank you for your department and the great detailed quality work that you and your team does. And it's one of those things that it's kind of behind the scenes, but, you know, we've gotten all those awards for budgets and all those things that you've done over the years, and just really appreciate it. So this is a really easy motion for me to make, Mr. Chair. I'll move that we approve the purchase order with Robert Half International in the amount of $165,500 to provide temporary staffing services through June 30th, 2023.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, the motion passes. Thank you, Jeff.
I will make one other comment, because I can't, last night, Jeff and I were leaving, I think, it was like 6 o'clock, we were leaving in the parking lot, and Jeff, I said something, and Jeff said, "Every day's a good day."
That's it.
And I go, that was a great comment.
That's it.
Yeah.
Every day's a good day.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your kind words. I will share those with my department staff.
Thank you, Jeff. Phil, are you here?
He is,
Yeah,
he's
all
hiding
right.
by the pillar over there.
You're up next. We're going to consider approval of a contract for services with Gibraltar Medical Staffing in the amount of $500,000 to provide medical personnel for mental health counseling and medication management.
Before he starts, I'm just curious, as the commander and the sergeant walk out, are you guys just bored today and you want to hang out in board session?
All about relationships.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, it's nice to see both of you.
I'm not sure they could see that on camera, but we
Right.
had a couple of the leaders from our sheriff's office here to support the work we're doing, I guess. So, good morning,
Keep us in
Phil.
line.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Phil Bleb, Behavioral Health Operations Outpatient Division Director. I have for your consideration today a contract for Gibraltar Medical Staffing. This contract will help fill a gap of 12 therapists in our adult behavioral outpatient services until we can hire regular staff. There is a work shortage in relations to mental health providers. We've had postings for the last 2 to 3 years up, and we can't seem to get ahead of mental health needs in the county. We are requesting that the temp staff be in person and at least a portion of the time available for on-site services. The agency will be able to bill for services and will also be able to bring caseload sizes down. The current caseload size for our clinicians is over 100, which makes it difficult to provide good clinical quality care to our members. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Phil. This is a little bit of a different situation than the situation maybe Jeff's in, because this is not just a challenge that you're facing. The whole state is facing a challenge. when it
Nationally,
comes-
yes.
Nationally. when it comes to therapists. There's just a shortage. There's a huge need, especially over the last couple of years, and we don't have as many professionals as we'd like to serve that need. And so I appreciate you coming up with a creative solution here, because this is a real challenge for our whole community.
Thank you.
I would just love for you to share with us a little bit about what this looks like, because I know that we have a variety of types of access to care. Is this going to be contractors, these professionals coming into our buildings and providing services, or is this different?
Yes. So they'd be coming into our agency, or they'd be doing telehealth. So,
Okay.
but they would be able to increase our access to mental health services.
Okay.
I'm seeing it probably with more established clients that have been here more long-term, to be able to shift cases for those people who are actually in-house,
Okay.
to be able to see people more direct in-person services.
I appreciate that you have the forethought to think about the establishment of the relationship with the clients that come in versus assigning maybe somebody new who might need some additional services that I think would need the eyes and attention of somebody who's a permanent employee that has access kind of more department, cross-department. I am thrilled. I appreciate that Mark Wigg was here earlier to bring this up in public comment, but I do just want to say thank you for being really proactive. And while I hope this isn't kind of where we stop, because I do think that we have this exacerbated need in both adult and children's behavioral health. And if there's the ability to creatively contract to get people served, one, I think it's fiscally responsible because it might not be a need that's consistent long-term. And while we have a lot of positions that we absolutely need to fill, I would rather contract out something that might be short-lived over a couple of years and not have to have people count on a job that they might, be limited duration type of a situation. And this is, I think, represents how we do business here, which is just trying to make sure we have the service available. And I've been here for 2 years, and I don't know that we've had this type of a contract. So thank you for bringing it forward.
You're welcome.
And getting it done. Yeah, I'm like, when can they start?
Yeah, we need it.
We meet with them on Thursday if this is approved.
Perfect, okay. Tomorrow, Thursday.
Tomorrow, Thursday.
Okay, great.
The urgency is real.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, could they come in this afternoon if it passes?
I already tried that.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Bethel had her way, it would be last Thursday.
That's right.
That's right.
Well, I mean, if I'm being totally transparent, while we have a process for board session, there are certain things that are more priority than other, and this is a really big deal in our community. So, anyway, nobody asked me, otherwise I would have had to hear last week.
All right. Any questions, Commissioner Cameron? Nope. All right, Commissioner Bethel, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the contract for services with Gibraltar Medical Staffing LLC in the amount of $500,000 to provide medical personnel for mental health counseling and medication management through January 31st, 2028.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion, and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Phil, go get them. Good luck.
Thanks.
All right, now I'm going to open a public hearing to receive testimony on the proposed alternative competitive process to solicit construction management and general contractor services for the North Santiam Canyon and Sewer Project. Good morning, Camber.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Camber Schlag. I'm the Contracts and Procurement Manager with Marion County Finance.
And I'm Brian Nicholas, Marion County Public Works Director.
And we would love it if you could tell us what this is all about.
Okay, I will turn it over to Brian to get us started.
All right. In the 2021 legislative session, the state legislature allocated $50 million to Marion County with the purpose of delivering sewer projects up in the North Santiam Canyon. That project is currently underway. Last year, we solicited and awarded the contract for engineering services to Keller and Associates, and during that process, we're evaluating the best construction contracting methodology, the most suitable contracting options for construction of these facilities, and determined at the staff level that CMGC is the approach that we wanted to recommend to the Board of Commissioners. We were in front of you at the February 22nd board session to request board authorization to proceed with that procurement process. And the board executed Order 23-046, authorizing establishing today's public hearing and instructing staff to advertise this public hearing. Advertisements were posted on February 24th in the DJC and Oregon Bias website, and we are here for the public hearing.
Great. We don't have anybody signed up for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to make public comment? Okay, I don't see
Staff are like,
anybody.
nope.
But I would like, Brian, if you could, because we're in a public hearing, to maybe talk about the CMGC process, what it is, and why it is still a competitive process.
Right.
Because those would be some of the questions as to why we wouldn't go through our normal procurement
Right.
situation for this.
Yeah, so CMGC, it is a contracting methodology where you execute a contract with a qualified builder to participate in the design development phase of the project. So the design phase, in this model, the design phase doesn't culminate with a single bid package with a low bid type of bidding scenario. You issue basically a contract for services to that construction contractor. They're going to act as a construction manager during the design and permitting phase. And the benefit there is you are now receiving direct input and feedback from a qualified builder who is envisioning how this is going to get constructed in the field, right? So, you basically pay for those services, but in general, a well-executed CMGC contract, even though you have the costs of involving a construction contractor up front, it generally pays for itself, and sometimes more than pays for itself, because in general, a well-managed CMGC contract will result in dramatically reduced numbers and dollar amounts of construction phase change orders, because all of that stuff has been built in, it's been covered, right? Most CMGC contractors understand that they're going to make money through efficiency in delivering the project, not through change orders and taking advantage of mistakes that the owner may have made in developing plans. So there is a really good solid track record in CMGC, both saving money or at least not costing more than a low bid, traditional low bid contract, but also tends to be much smoother, much quicker. For us, this is a very technically, it's a technical project. It is, we don't have a whole lot of bench strength in our shop when it comes to delivering sewer projects, right? We operate and maintain some sewer systems, but this is a big animal. So one of the other advantages for Marion County, benefits for Marion County, is it lets us leverage the people power of our consultant team and our construction contractor to reduce the amount of staff time demand it takes to deliver a project that's this large and complex. Ultimately, it is competitive because the selection of the CMGC is a competitive process. It just doesn't rely solely on low cost. The award of that contract relies on qualifications as cost and non-cost factors. So qualifications are taken into account. Ultimately, as you reach somewhere near the end of the design phase, we will request a guaranteed maximum price proposal from the CMGC, and that is their open book proposal of here's what they propose to charge for the full delivery of that project. And we as the owner have a lot of say and influence into how that is structured. We could ask the CMGC to really serve as a construction manager throughout and ask them to competitively bid pieces of the project, and it's going to be there, then you're in a low bid environment. And the CMGC, you've had the CMGC involved to head off issues and make sure you have no design mistakes or constructability issues. So that is one way to go. Most likely, what we're going to be doing is what's called open book negotiation. So the specifications will require that the CMGC, when they give us their guaranteed maximum price proposal, we will be negotiating, but we'll be able to see all of their subcontractor quotes, everything that goes into that to make sure that it's a fair and equitable pricing. So, and we'll also have a third-party estimating firm looking over our shoulder to evaluate those cost proposals to make sure they are in line with industry norms. So, it is that part of it, that negotiation of the guaranteed maximum price, that does take time and attention for staff. However, once that is done, the county gets a huge payoff because delivery is much less time and labor intensive.
And so this type of a contract is really beneficial in highly technical, complicated infrastructure projects. Is that right? Because the risk of change orders is just so high because it's such a complicated technical thing that you're trying to do.
Yes, you will not get through a low bid contract on a sewer system project without some change orders and potentially some significant ones. It's just, but in the CMGC, you really do have a chance of getting through it with potentially no change orders. Right?
Because the person that you select through the competitive process takes on the risk of that, essentially.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's the benefit to the county, is reducing the county's risk. No, really known risk. The things that we know.
Dramatically, yeah. There's never a no risk scenario, but dramatically lower risk for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, known risks that we know are in the project rather than, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions for Brian
Nope.
Gamber?
Sorry, that was a big
Unless you're Sun Valley
I have a
Bank, then you have no risk. Sorry.
I feel
No
like,
political comments here.
I'm happy that this is here and done. Well, will be done likely soon and can be moved ahead because, well, we're going on the radio next week to talk about this project. So I'd really like to make sure this is all
So-
complete and moving forward.
So, Mr. Chair, I believe we're under a public hearing, correct?
We are? Yep.
All right, we're not under contract review board yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Nope, I would have to close the public hearing and then convene as a contract review board to move forward.
Yeah, so, Mr. Chair, I would move that we close the public hearing,
Okay. Do we have a
and
second?
then we
Then we
convene as a contract review board.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, I am going to close the public hearing and open a contract review, and convene, as a contract review board. And we are going to consider approval of an order granting exemption to allow the use of an alternative solicitation process pursuant to the Marion County Public Contracting Rules for public improvement in the Santiam Canyon. Okay, so do we need to have any further discussion before I take a motion on that? Approval of that order?
I have none.
No.
Okay, then I'll take a motion.
So I'm going to move to close the contract review board and approve an order
No.
grant.
We don't want to close the contract. We're under the contract review board, so just move to approve. Right? We don't
I'll
want to
adjourn.
close the
I'll
contract
just
review
adjourn.
board yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have my process, you have yours, and mine was fine. Either way, I move to approve an order granting an exemption to allow for use of an alternative solicitation process pursuant to the Marion County Public Contracting Rules for public improvement.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes, and we will adjourn as a contract review board and reconvene as the Board of Commissioners. Thank you, Camber.
you.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
And that completes our agenda, so are there any other comments that?
I have two things. Well, first of all, I'd like to just say on the record today, because we didn't talk about it last week, and you all honored my ask to move a $12 million contract under consent calendar last week, because we needed to have some discussions on that particular contract, but Marion County last week approved and signed a contract for $12 million with the Oregon Housing and Community Services Department, specifically for wildfire housing recovery. It's a contract that I have been negotiating on behalf of Marion County for the better part of a year. It comes from House Bill 5001 of 2021. It's a $150 million contract that the legislature gave to OHCS to immediately and efficiently allocate general fund and lottery dollars. And I said this in my State of the County, OHCS is anything but efficient. And so they are probably one of the most restricted organizations in the state, and they tried to overly restrict those funds, which is why it took us a year to get to last week, where we were able to successfully negotiate the contract AMI requirement, area median income, up to 120% from their original 80%, which means we now can serve of the remaining households who are yet to be permanently housed, all but 31 households. It's a really big deal. The 31 households that cannot be served under this contract have about a $1.5 million need in their ability to get into a home permanently and or finish some gaps to complete their home. We have about 100 households that will cost us about $8 million to get into housing permanently all throughout the canyon. And I just want to say thanks, one, to both of you to help me through this process, be supportive along the way. It's been brutal and exceptionally emotional, not just for myself, but for the people who are relying on those that say they're here to help them at the state level, show up to help them, but also to Matt Lawyer, who's a senior policy analyst in our office, who's really been instrumental in this. Jane, for all of your last minute show up to help us get through these awful contracts that DOJ just kept throwing in our way. And then lastly, to Jan Fritz, our Chief Administrative Officer, who is probably the most creative employee the county has in her desire to really show up for our citizens. So we'll be talking about it again this afternoon as a board, the process that we have to lay out and really navigate the restrictions on the dollars. But I anticipate through our partnership with the Long-Term Recovery Group up in the Santiam Canyon and the Santiam Hospital Disaster Case Management Team, within the month, we'll be able to deploy a grant system for an application for those households to be able to apply through the funnel of the case management system through the LTRG to gain access to those dollars. So we know that they're fully vetted through the wildfire recovery process, which includes the assessor's office and previous footprints and a variety of other checkpoints. Because this is likely all the money we're going to get from OHCS in this fashion to be able to complete our recovery. And once we're there, while we still have a hill to climb for those last 31 households, it's a much shorter hill than what we've been on over the last 2 years. So it's a really big deal. We put out a very brief press release on it yesterday, and folks are pretty moved by it.
We're going to get everybody home.
Yeah, we are.
Mr. Chair, yeah, thank you, Commissioner Bethel, for those comments and for your hard work. And sorry that you've had lots of stress over this, but nothing worthwhile comes easy.
That's right.
When it comes to this process. But really, really appreciate your stick-to-itness and your ability to just continue to stay on message and focus to help those people. And I think all three of us being there last night was a great example, and Commissioner Tucker being there from Lynn County. It kind of represents the recovery, 3-1, basically, home-wise, right? And I just know that this is just another one of those things that is going to continue to help the recovery in that in the canyon from what happened. This morning I went and testified on Senator Gerard's bill on the property tax issue. There was a feeling that it was going to be just a courtesy hearing, and when I was walking over there, I got that message, and I thought, well, this can't be
real.
This is we need this bill.
Yeah, people
right?
need this,
These people need this help. And a couple of things came up. Department of Revenue was there, and I think I'm hoping because Senator Gordon was part of the Wildfire Recovery Committee last session that helped us get the sewer money and all that. He gets this, Jackson County. I'm hoping, and my request at the end of my testimony was that they would consider scheduling a work session. That has to be done by Friday. And move it to revenue so that we can continue to work on this bill with the assessors and Department of Revenue and really get something done. And Senator Taylor was very interested in the bill, was supportive of the bill. There's some questions. How does it get implemented? Like we know, it's gonna be one of those things, it's gonna be grinding away at the sausage to get this thing done.
Yep.
But, I mean, there might only be, you know, a handful or 20 people, or could be 30 people that take advantage of it, because it has to be your permanent residence. You have to apply, and the counties have to opt in. So that was, they actually called me back up to clarify that. And I said, well, there's two triggers for opting in. One is the county, the board has to decide they want to opt in. And the second one is the individual has to opt in. It's not something that just automatically happens. So hopefully we'll get this done, and they'll send it over someplace where we can continue to work on it. So I may be absent a little bit because I'm going to stick my teeth into this one.
Good.
We'll see.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah.
I'm excited
It's
about
been
that.
interesting to see how, you know, it seems like our policy has just been to make sure that the government doesn't harm people who are victims of the fire. And it's been interesting how much work it takes, right? Like the government system is just not set up to hold people harmless, right? And,
No.
and it's set up to work when you don't have emergencies. It's kind of a funny thing, right? Kind of where government's most valuable is when you have an emergency. But it's set up to work not in emergencies, and then all of a sudden you apply those sort of non-emergency rules to emergency situations, and people get harmed unless you know, you intervene and say, hey, this isn't right, this isn't just. We shouldn't have people priced out of their homes because it got burned down. That doesn't, you know, you don't want tax refugees simply because you burned down your house, right? If you're, you know, if you made a lot of money and you want to build a brand new house, then I have no problem with you having to pay a little bit higher property taxes because of that. But if you're a victim of a fire and you're trying to rebuild, why should you
And live there.
Why should
Yeah.
your tax rate
Right.
jump up? You know, because you're a victim. That doesn't make any
Right,
sense.
and being in the building, some things I went, in fact, I was sitting next to Lisa from State Parks. She had a
yeah.
work session. I was sitting next to her, and I looked over and I said, some things never change. There's a lot of lobbyists that I knew, and then after Senator Girard and I got done and the Department of Revenue got done, Jody Weiser, do you know who she is?
Mm-hmm.
If there's a revenue bill, it's like, she's always there, right? And, you know, one of the comments was, well, everybody's gonna come in when their house burns down or whatever, and, you know, that this isn't fair because it's, you know, and I wanna say, you know, life's not fair, but this is a blanket disaster that impacted a lot of people, in a lot of ways, and, you know,
And because
The
the government
one-offs.
failed,
This
by the
isn't-
way.
Right, that's
It's
right.
not because like
That's
a
right.
lightning struck a house and in the environment did it. This happened because the government didn't put the bloody fire out. So, like,
And
I don't know
specifically
who,
the
I don't know
US
who
Forest
that,
Service, the
Jody,
federal government.
whoever that is, but I'd be happy to explain to her my position on that. And also the 18 CAM home owners who we went to that dinner for last night, who are predominantly seniors, people who are retired. They live on a fixed income, and they've given their all in their lifetime back into their service of whatever kind into our community, and they will explicitly be harmed by that fire and the tax increase on their new home because the government thinks that everything should be taxed at a higher base over time. And I appreciate that to a point, but
Well, I think that the important thing here is it's not the case. We're not arguing that people who lost their homes in the fire shouldn't have the 3% increase in assessed value that everybody
Absolutely.
has.
No,
That-
that's the standard.
That's what
Yeah, measure
everybody
50.
has. You're gonna have to do that just like the rest of us are. The question is, should they have to basically double their tax rate because their new assessed value on their home is essentially twice or 3 times what their old one, and they get assessed at market rate as opposed to what they were under Measure 50? That's the problem. The
Yeah.
problem is that it's not, we're not trying to give victims of this fire a better deal than everybody else. We're just trying to make sure they don't get a significantly worse deal than everybody else just because their house got burned.
Right.
Yeah, well, Department of Revenue has some good things, this may be in, legal counsel may understand this better, somebody in legal counsel, the issue of special assessments with assessors and stuff. So, if we can get the bill scheduled for a work session and get it someplace, then we can put a group together and say, okay, what's your challenge, and then to get this done, and then hopefully we'll have a chance to adopt it here.
Yeah, that'd be
So,
great.
we'll see.
That's great. Well, I also just want to say last night that it meant a lot to me and also to the people that attended did the dinner last night. Last night, we went up to the Gates Community Church and had dinner with Christian Aid Ministries, which is a Christian-based organization who came here in the fall of 2021 to support homeowners who had a significant gap in their ability to rebuild. Christian Aid Ministries brings individuals in from all across this continent. It's not just our country. There was folks, laborers from Canada there last night. Also, and what they do is they recruit these folks in, and they stay in our community, specifically in the Gates or Detroit area is where they've been for the last 18 months. And then they give their skills with no charge to building homes. And Kevin Dial, who's the director of the Long-Term Recovery Group, shared last night that Christian Aid Ministries invested $2.5 million in labor for the 18 households that are getting homes. And the homeowners have to pay for the materials and or the community through the different organizations that are donating goods and services, goods, materials, and then CAM facilitates the labor, the construction folks to do the actual building. And what I learned last night was there are a variety of different organizations, hundreds of organizations throughout Marion County that have been helpful and instrumental in this recovery. But specifically, they named off 3. I always send myself a text message so I don't forget. Kaufman Homes, Thatcher Homes are 2 contract organizations, 2 contractors. But because of the restrictive Oregon laws, you have to have a CCB number to be able to sign off on a building permit. And CAM, Christian Aid Ministries, is not from Oregon. Lots of the folks were from Tennessee, Georgia, Arkansas, so forth, so they're not licensed in Oregon. And these 2 building organizations gave of their licensing number and like a arm's distance oversight to allow Christian Aid Ministries to be able to file those building permits. And then our planning department, specifically Brandon and Chris, I know from the very beginning helped walk this over the bridge because it was new, unique for us in the county on how do we explore this. And it was Chris and Brandon who actually said, here's what you have to do to be so instrumental in that process. And then Rubio's Plumbing is a plumbing company who's actually super new. It's a new business, and I just want to shout him out because everybody needs a plumber these days. He's not been in business long. He met Joe Nichols from Christian Aid Ministries at Home Depot.
In the parking lot.
In the parking lot while Joe was loading 4 carts full of materials. And as he said, nobody from Home Depot was helping me. But here's a random citizen, Mr. Rubio, who said, hey, can I lend you a hand to load your truck? And then in conversation, Joe shared with Mr. Rubio what he was doing. And then Mr. Rubio said, hey, I'm a plumber. I'll come plumb all these homes. Which means he donated 100% of his labor as a plumber, which is a big deal, to 18 homes in the canyon. And they're going to be finished at the end of April for all of these homes. I normally don't like say businesses and so forth is a big shout out, but it's a big deal. And I know that this morning we also received an email from Nick Harville from Sedcor. You may have not seen it yet, but there's a need for a big box cargo container to be moved.
K&E's on it.
And, Eric from K&E responded and said, absolutely, we'll come and do it. I'm exhausted. I just want you to know it's like getting that $12 million and kind of getting to this point really is maybe brought my emotions to the surface, but we have so many amazing companies in this community that are really putting their best foot forward and not even asking for a financial return. And because of them, we are the fastest recovering wildfire-impacted county in the state of Oregon from the 2020 fires, and I couldn't be more proud. There's an organization called After the Fire that's a national nonprofit that is trying to figure out how we in our community are doing what we're doing at our pace. And it's because of people like this. So
I also want to take a minute, though, and recognize the county, too.
Yeah.
And Brandon in particular, who runs our building and planning division there in Public Works, but also us and the leadership here, because one of the things that I learned last night is this Christian Aid Ministry is the only community it went to in the state of Oregon was Marion County.
Right.
So we had fires up and down the Cascades, visited lots of different communities, and I think it's actually a really important thing, the way that we interact with religious organizations, private businesses, because I think there's some confusion out there about what it means to not like pick a religion or have a government religion, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to be anti-religious. And I think one of the things that came through last night is these folks are motivated to help because of their faith. Like that's why they do what they do, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes they come into jurisdictions and the jurisdictions are like, well, that makes us uncomfortable. We don't want to partner with you because you're very faith forward. We don't like that, right? And I think it's important that as a government, we don't have to pick a religion or espouse a religion to partner with religiously motivated groups. And if we had taken a view that was like, we don't want to do that or that makes us feel uncomfortable, there would be 17 families that wouldn't have homes built for them in the canyon, you know? And so I think this idea that we welcome anybody who's willing to do public good in Marion County, regardless of your motivations, and that we're very supportive of those institutions and organizations that are willing to help and do the good work for people in Marion County is really important. And I think specifically to Brandon and his team, one of the things that they do so well is although it's their job to make sure the law is being followed, you can do that in a way where you view the person on the other side of the counter with suspicion, or you can do that in a way where you view the other person on the other side of the counter as somebody who's trying to do something good for your community and wanting to help them. And I think Brandon does such a good job of seeing the person on the other side of the counter as somebody that he wants to succeed and really trying to figure out how to help that person succeed in the good they're doing for the community. And I think that's actually pretty unique. I don't think that's common in governments around the country.
It's not, and you're right. And I think what you're describing is how government, like us, it's our responsibility to, when you think about the concept of inclusivity, which we kind of talked about earlier today with our Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities Proclamation, it's not my job to tell citizens how to think and feel. My job is to provide them the menu of access, and all the options should be on that menu, regardless of how I feel about it. And then the citizens can take their time and be educated and make a choice for themselves that works. And that's what we did. When I met Joe Nichols for the first time in the summer of 2021, it was on a call with FEMA, because there was an organization in Clackamas County, which is a different religion, that also does something similar, but not to the same capacity. And they were over capacity, and actually in California, the Clackamas County organization was working in California for wildfire recovery, and not available here. And I'll be honest, it never occurred to me to care that these organizations were religious-based, because it didn't care to the wildfire victims who were living in tents and trailers who just needed somebody to come in and help them. And it's really none of my business. At the end of the day, my job specifically and explicitly is to provide direct access to citizens to something that fills the gap and need that they have. And I truly believe that there is a world full of things, religious, non-religious, whatever, available. And I'm just so proud that we never sat down and tried to define what access looks like for our wildfire victims. We just said, come one, come all, and how do we help facilitate you to get up there, to be here, to do your work? And we were instrumental in that. And I'm proud of the work and the investment financially that we made into it. You know, we had a modular home that we've been paying for this 2 years. It was up there for a different reason post-fire, and then when CAM came in, they needed a place to stay because these people pay their own way to get here. And if they don't have a place to stay, they have to pay for that out of their own pockets. And we provided this modular home that turned into a dorm-like setting for these men to stay in for 18 months. And, you know, Commissioner Cameron says all the time, like sometimes you want to be on the front page about things, and sometimes you don't. And I'm thrilled to be on the front page of any newspaper about the work that we've done and with the organizations we've done it with to get recovered, because I think it's really important. I am just like, I need to take a nap because I'm emotionally tired, and I'm just thrilled that we're here.
Great.
You can tell a bad joke, and you can get on the top of the fold.
I don't tell jokes for
Do you
that
know
reason.
something about that?
Top of the fold, bottom of the fold, and the opinion piece all in the same week.
Yes, I'm sure that can be done, and I'm going to avoid all of that. Thank you.
We all make mistakes.
That's right.
Joe did say last night, the guy from Christian Aid Ministries,
Yeah.
that this was one of the best situations as far as the ease with which his organization was able to come here and do the work.
Yeah.
That because the county and the community there was so supportive and provided what they needed to do to, like you said, bring in hundreds of volunteers from across the country to build these
Yeah.
homes for free for wildfire victims. I mean, it's a testament to the kind of collective community that he felt so supported in his work, and he said how easy it was to do it.
And then we had to go up to him afterwards and say, don't worry about being called a snowflake. She's called us that too.
Oh my gosh, I use the analogy about building a snowman and how you can't get to a snowman without the first snowflake. And I believe Joe Nichols was the first snowflake that fell out there to build a snowman. So thank you so much. And wow, I was like, it wasn't lost on me that I was in an environment of a lot of conservative individuals. They all looked at me like, seriously? But I had no political connotation in my analogy, period.
All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
It's St. Patrick's Day on Friday.
It sure is. It's a
I'm
great
surprised
day.
you're not championing this right
It's
now.
a great day. Well, St. Patrick's Day, I'll be championing it pretty
I know
loud.
you
I'll be
will.
pretty
I
loud
will
and
be with
proud.
you.
So anybody who wants to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, look me up. I'll find some opportunities for you to celebrate with me.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll be there.
All right.
Okay. Have a good day.
We're adjourned.